Let's talk astrology. I'm going to quickly talk you through which aspects I'm going to be mentioning, just so that you know what to expect. We have, of course, the opposition to the moon. There's a conjunction with Pallas Athena. We have also what is considered a Yod aspect, because there's a quincunx from the moon to Venus and Jupiter. There's a quincunx on the other side to the south node. We have we have that Venus and Jupiter also sextiling the south node and trining the north node. We have a really important aspect that I'm going to spend some time on, which is the moon in opposition to Saturn and Neptune. And I'm going to tell you why this is so important right now. And we have so many sextiles that I actually noticed it's two grand trines on top of each other, like a hexagram. So maybe more will come up, but this is the essence of this full moon that I've discovered. Welcome and welcome back. My name is Jennifer Irene. I came to this beautiful location and I realized that it's very sunny, it's very hot, and also every time the wind is blowing through the leaves, it gets a bit loud. I'm really sorry, but I'm gonna stay here. I'm already here. I needed to get out of the house. And I have so much astrology wisdom bubbling inside of me that I really want to get out to you. There's so much like frustration right now in the air, and I'm gonna take us through all of the important aspects. First of all, I want to say thank you. It means a lot to me that you're here, and every single person who leaves a comment, it just like fills my heart with gratitude. I'm so grateful, and I think it's easy to forget that, like, I'm talking to you, you're listening to me, and even though we can't see each other, there is an opportunity for exchange. It makes connection so much more real. It also really helps people who make videos, like it helps me to remember that there is someone listening and that it's reaching someone, that this message isn't just going into a void or going against a wall. So I want to ask you a little favor. Just leave a comment below after you've watched the video, just something that resonated with you. And if you feel it, subscribe to the channel. That will help me so much to also keep me motivated to, make more of this content, yeah? But enough of that. Let's talk astrology. Let's start at the beginning. We have, of course, Leo season right now. The sun is in Leo. We really want to express. We have a desire to, understand what it is that we really want to creatively do in this life, with this, with this body, with this being. Which roles do you want to give yourself? Which roles do you want to take up on the stage of every day? But with this opposition to the moon is in Aquarius, so that's already a position where we're bringing in a polar opposite view. We're bringing in a little bit of a more objective, less emotional stance. Also, from the ego perspective, we're bringing also a bit more of that collectiveness in, that humanitarian, wider picture, that, being able to zoom out and see things from larger than personal cycles. And with this moon, we have a conjunction to Pallas Athena. So this moon is already activated and infused with this energy of really being able to problem solve. It's super strategic. It's like right now, we really have to think about strategy. And this is also important because we have so many planets right now, especially the outer planets, the ones really far away, they are all retrograding, plus Mercury. And we're anyways right now feeling this intense energy where all of these planets have been moving into a new sign. They've transitioned in the last couple of months. These are really long cycles that we've really felt the anticipation. And now they're retrograding, they're moving back into the place where they've already been, and they're gonna dip all the way back into their previous signs, yeah? I'm talking about Uranus, Neptune, Saturn, Pluto. Pluto's not dipping back, but the other ones. And so we're in this moment where we are already like, experiencing this energy that we've been waiting for, that has been building up, and we've started already to do and to see and to notice. But now suddenly things feel like it's stagnating, or it feels like completely overwhelming, and we're like, I thought I was ready to do all of this, but I just noticed that something's missing. Like, I thought we had all of the solutions, but we're really noticing it's not. Like there's something missing. Where we are going is not completely aligned with what I imagined would be there. And this is both true on a personal and collective level, as always. So think of your personal life, yeah? If you're trying to understand how this affects you, like think of, is there any project that you've been working on where you just felt like it's rising and gaining momentum, and all of a sudden you feel a moment of like hesitation, a moment of fear, a moment of questioning, of doubt, a moment where things aren't working, where it's suddenly less successful from your perspective. And so you may just find a sense in slowing things down for a moment and checking in. Do I actually have the resources that I need to be successful in the way that I want to, sustainably and long term? Is there maybe someone that I require help from? Is there something really important about this project that I've completely neglected? And on a collective level, I think we're also noticing we want all these solutions. We want society to change, but we're noticing in some ways we're just kind of replacing the old thing that we wanted to change with a new shiny object or a word or like this new shiny idea. And then we're like, wow, it's different now. It has changed. But then we look closer and we notice the systems of it have actually not changed. Like the structure, the way that we utilize this energy, the question that we pose ourselves, that has maybe not changed. So maybe all of the things are new, the words are new, the definitions are new, it looks new, but it's still functioning in the same way. And that's where we also need to notice, okay, maybe we take a step back and we really ask ourselves, where is the change not happening at all? So I find this, what I just mentioned, to be very prominently shown to us by Mars being in opposition with Neptune and with Saturn. Neptune and Saturn are both in the sign of Aquarius. They're each in 1 degree right now. Neptune and Saturn are retrograding, Mars is moving forwards. And with this energy, I find it really prominent, this question of how are we actually acting in a way that is truly fair and just and equality and balancing out the mistakes of the past? And where have we been trying to act just from, a belief, a new idea, a belief of change, and the dreams, the visioning of new systems? But now with that Mars coming into confrontation, coming into check, and being in Libra, there's a much higher awareness of like, oh, these actions are actually not really based on like the legal sense of justice or an actual equality or, a true peace or a radical change that is like balancing out energies, trying to neutralize emotions and not just meeting bad emotions with other bad emotions. Yeah, I hope this is not too abstract. Like, I see it a lot in the moment right now, for example, when I look at the world, and there's a lot of topics right now of, for example, people just getting prizes or like being nominated for prizes or being, applauded for things that they contribute to the world. Like, wow, they made this legal change and that's so much better for everyone. Or like, wow, they're a really good like journalist and they're highlighting things that no one has ever seen before. Or like, wow, they made this like one move and that's a huge step towards peace. But then we're totally forgetting to look at all of the other sides. It's like, yeah, that person made like a step towards peace, but actually most of what they're saying is really not peace-oriented. Actually, a lot of what they're saying is filled with hate. Maybe they're not actually like deserving of receiving the Nobel Peace Prize, Maybe those are just things that we do to tell ourselves, wow, we are one step closer to peace. Let's commemorate this and award something. That's so like Aquarius, that's a little bit ego-centric. But now Mars is there, like being like, okay, I want to do this, but this is fair, right? Neptune and Saturn are retrograding, dipping back into Pisces, being like, my ego thought it was fair, but now I'm moving back towards Pisces, and we'll gain again the more wider spiritual perspective of being like, ooh, actually, I don't know, I'm really confused right now. Or there's like people doing journalism, and they're highlighting really important things, and they're being applauded for contributing such an amazing voice to society. But then at the same time, they were people who have a history of harassing others, who actually have open cases against them. And it's just small little details like this that turn out to be quite important. It's quite an interesting time, also to bring it back to the personal level, asking yourself, okay, I've taken all of these steps toward my vision, but is this actually fair towards myself? Is this actually fair towards my partner? Is this actually something where I'm able to collaborate with others? Or am I just kind of walking this illusion and I'm actually trying to do everything myself, still keep talking about collaboration, but I'm actually still doing the things alone? Just like checking back in with that. I find this opposition to be very relevant. What I mentioned earlier, we have the quincunx from the moon all the way to Jupiter and Venus. They are going to move closer and closer, and on like August 11th, they're going to be conjunct. So that's like a big potential, for really tapping into the awareness of the heart, of the desires, and of what makes that actually benevolent. This is the energy of Cancer and Jupiter and Venus. This is like a really profound sensation. But with the quincunx to the moon, this is like kind of difficult to put into that perspective of what the moon also is realizing at the same time. And this like very strategic, more objective, more rational way of trying to problem solve. There's another quincunx on the other side between the moon and the south node. So again, this is a question of like, are we just repeating things in a new disguise? Or are we actually, changing from the core? And it might be very hard to put all of the things into the same container and feel that everything is treated equally, like your needs, the collective needs. And this yacht is, really bringing up the questions so profoundly of like, how is this a repetition? And what is bothering me? What do I need to actually feel good about this in my heart? Not just in my mind. What do I actually need? Like, does it sound good? But does it also feel good? When I feel if this is right, if this is just, if this is fair, if this is equality, what do I feel? Does it sound good? Yeah, maybe. Does it feel good? I don't know. I don't know if it does. So those are the areas where right now and the next months and all the way until next year, we are going to do some cleaning up, because these transgenerational planets will be moving all the way back and all the way forwards. But right now, it's time to begin recognizing where those things are still messed up. Yeah. There's also another example that I can share with you here. So I think it's also about highlighting the importance of relational context, relativity, because Mars, again, is in Libra, and that's also about relating to something. So we cannot simply see actions in an isolated way. We do, in my opinion, have to consider the relational context. And I think that's what makes it so tricky, because that moon right now wants to be so objective and find the one objective truth, and may be confronted with the fact that it's always influenced by your ego. You cannot have an objective truth that is not influenced by your own ego. So for example, think about someone donating money, and they might be donating a really large sum of money. It's like hundreds of thousands of euros. And on the first glance, if we just take that as a fact, like of how much money that is, it might seem like that's a very generous act. That is just a deed of love. And we are very fast to simply applaud and congratulate and then even reward, yeah, with like a trophy or being given a cool title or just, you know, people being like in awe of that. So then giving that person a lot of perceived generosity, and that person will become more perceived like sympathetically, and that brings a lot of, you know, other rewarding things in life. But if we take that into the relational context, the relativity, we also have to consider how much does that person own? How much does that person have? Because if somebody has 100,000, you know, euros or dollars, and or any other currency, if they have 100,000 of a unit and they give like 99,000, that is a huge, huge portion of what they own. That is almost everything. That's like 99%, you know, that's almost everything they have. And they're keeping only a very small portion for themselves. That may be considered extremely generous, you know? Now think of that same sum, 99,000, not for someone who has 100,000, but someone who has 78 billion. Now, all of a sudden, that 99,000 in comparison to the 78 billion is not such a large sum. It's not a big portion of what they have. Is that person still generous? Yes, they are. But are they as generous as the other person who gave 99,000? No, they're not equally as generous. But we don't notice that if we stay stuck on the level of facts and numbers, yeah? Without comparing things and understanding the relativity. Now, I'm not saying that this isn't an act of generosity, but I think it's important to remember that we can easily distort the facts when we leave out important context. And what that does is it enables us to then make further and further decisions that are all based on that previous assessment. All right, everybody, change of scenery, change of location. I had to come back home because it was so loud outside and people wanted to use the space where I was sitting, and everywhere else it was just like really noisy. That's the reality of filming on a Saturday in good weather. So anyways, I'll try to remember where I just was. I was talking about people being judged for their behaviors, but without certain relational context. We make a judgment that we think is correct because we just view the fact, but we don't consider another fact and we don't consider the relativity of something. But it enables us to already give that person a certain, you know, quality or attribute, and to make a judgment, to make an assessment that then influences everything that is built on later. And I think if we keep doing that and we really take the context out of consideration, it's not necessarily that we make huge misjudgments, but we are missing so much of the picture. And sometimes it is a misjudgment. It always depends on the context. I think there's another example here that maybe will help to illustrate what I mean a bit more. So I'm thinking a lot about the spiritual community, but especially also the spiritual world of business, or like the business world of spirituality, better said. So I'm curious to hear if anybody else notices this as well, or if you have all completely different opinions. But from my perspective, what I'm seeing is there's a lot of people waking up. Yeah, they've been working in jobs for a long time and never really cared about, you know, things aside from money and success and career. Little room for sustainability and ethics and things like that. Now those people are leaving their jobs, they're having this like awakening moment, and they have a lot of accumulated resources because for a long time they've just been accumulating those. But now they're waking up and they want to, like shift paths. So there is a lot of people transitioning from one field of business into the spiritual field of business. And because they already have a lot of money and other resources accumulated, it's quite easy for them to just shift because they can buy all of the things that makes it faster, makes it easier, and sometimes even provides certain skills that are needed. So this transition is enabled a lot faster through resources having been accumulated. So then sometimes those are the people who are very quick to also accelerate and climb the ladder of success, so to say, in the world of spiritual business and spiritual offerings. Now, I'm not saying that any of those people are not spiritual, but I think there's something important we're missing here, is that a lot of people who have always been opposed to working in certain fields of life, to contributing to certain industries for moral reasons, and who have a really strong spiritual sense of connection that has been just driving them away from those systems and into more spiritual based offerings. But because they haven't ever contributed in that area, they also have lacked the accumulation of wealth from those things that have been valued for so many years, right? Where the money has been flowing and going, all of the systems that have been established. And so those people are, in comparison, sometimes having a harder time to also achieve the same sense of visibility, the same sense of success in numbers, because the resources are not there. So I feel what happens is that there is a huge wave of like new spiritual teachers and leaders who, some of them have not yet been living with that kind of connection for a long time. It hasn't been practiced to the same length as someone who may have been living their whole life like this. But the person living their whole life like that, they may have never acquired the same wealth and resources to enable the same kind of visibility that the other person now has. So my question is, are we just actually rebuilding the similar system from one industry, taking it to the next industry, and it's still the same things happening? What are the drivers of success in the spiritual community? What is enabling people to be successful? Is it actual spiritual qualities that determine and establish success? Or is it the same values that we have just been trying to run away from and go over here and establish new values, but we might be using the same values to determine, is this a good teacher or not? How many certificates have they been able to essentially buy? Because there's always a threshold of access. Yeah. I'm not saying that people with less certificates are somehow more skilled, but I am saying that sometimes we need to look at the context of a person's journey and development and what access they have had, and take all of that into consideration. And I think this is a really important conversation that we need to be having more and more, because as spirituality becomes more mainstream, as communities grow and more business is interwoven with what people feel like is their calling in life, we do need to assess who's successful, why are they successful, but also who isn't successful and why are they not successful. Have they perhaps been overlooked? Has there been a system that is not functioning based on equality and justice? Are the values not actually the values that we would like to have and see? So I think this conversation is a big one. That's just my little thought seeds here. It's not like a whole finished concept. I've actually just been having these ideas in the last couple of days, and I think I'm going to need some more time to see all of the perspectives and have conversations and feel more into the subject. So yeah, I might change my mind and perspectives a little bit, but this is like the core of what I'm feeling right now. I feel this topic is also really important because with this full moon, we have Pluto right in opposition to Mercury. We have Pluto in Aquarius in 2 degrees. We have Mercury in right now 4 degrees. And Mercury's retrograding, as you probably know and feel, but this opposition is really calling for those unspoken truths to be revealed. Yeah, those things about us and the collective and how we feel about the collective and how we're able to step into our role, and where we perceive the shadow aspects as well, where we perceive the need for evolution, those things to be spoken out. And the topics of truth, but understanding the relativity of truth are highlighted right now. Where is the quality of what we want to express, and how is that actually showing up as an evolution of something? Because that's again also this quincunx with the moon and then Jupiter and Venus in Cancer. Is like, are we just feeling like, oh yeah, this is cool, this is change, but yeah, this is new, like woo, this is AI, this is, you know, the future, this is cool art, this is more light installations, this is more this and more that. Everybody's getting more creative, we're all more free, right? We're all more free, right? Free to express. And then noticing that painful realization, and it might not be a painful realization, it might just be a small, humble feeling that is starting to question, and that is just like, I don't know, maybe some of this isn't so like necessary, or maybe there are some values that have been really sincerely forgotten this whole time. We are at a moment where it is time to reconsider what actually has value. And one last really important thing I want to mention about that Mars opposition with Neptune and Uranus is I feel this really brings up the question of the actions that we are taking. Are they actually in alignment with what is life-giving? This Aries quality of being able to spark life, nourish life. And with those 2 planets in Aries retrograding, we're starting to look back and just check in, like, are we actually, this is life-giving, right? Because Mars right now is demanding that we need to also look there. There needs to be some kind of harmony, some kind of equilibrium. We've gone too far in one direction, so we need to balance things out. And what is life-giving? Like the illusion of what is life-giving. I'm sure there's a bunch of stuff that we're super happy to have in our everyday life, but what is actually life-giving? It's air, oxygen. And not only air, it's clean air. It's water. And not only water, but clean water. It's food. But not only food, but nutrient-dense, healthy, non-toxic foods, whole foods, fresh foods. And after those are covered, it's things like shelter, right? And then we get onto like community and contact. But the essentials of what gives us life, is it the new next tech solution that uses this and that and blah, blah? Or is it actually a new solution for how can we take toxins out of the river, out of the earth? How can we actually be in connection more with what really fuels our bodies? Are we understanding how to be healthy? Do we understand the effects of more radiation, more electricity? Do you even understand how your body interacts with electrical waves? And we need to have a clear foundation of understanding and awareness for those areas before we just keep moving more and more into the sci-fi tech. We have all the solutions, this kind of like Aquarius realm that is sometimes super focused on like, what is the new thing? But is also like confronted with, well, what is the thing that actually brings us abundance? What is true abundance? What is actual abundance? How can we measure that, witness that, notice that? And how can we ensure that that abundance is continuing? Because if we don't have access to fresh, clean water and clean air and clean food in the next decades, then why are we making virtual realities? Like, who cares about that if we're not able to live in our bodies anymore? And I think the main aspect here is that we are going to be very confronted in the next years with ideas, and every idea is going to move you in one direction or another direction. And ideas are highly connected to abundance, to wealth, to health. So those ideas are sometimes the first things that are targeted by people who have very opposing interests. And it's those ideas that we need to maintain with clarity, that we need to clean them. Yeah, the same way that we clean our waters and our soils, it starts with also cleaning our ideas. What do we believe about what is important? What idea do we have about what I need to survive, what you need to survive? What idea do you have about what is a tree or a mountain or an animal? What idea do you give yourself, but also how have the ideas been shaped? And it's important to maintain your integrity there, to cleanse your ideas, so you can have a more filtered, a more clear image of life. You can tune into it. So this is going to be a process that everyone needs to do individually and collectively. It's also important to understand how collective ideas function, are spread, are formed, and to use your personal power to share your ideas, your clear ideas, your filtered ideas, and share them with the world and give other people access to those ideas. Because sometimes when the distortion has been going on so long, we completely forget. Maybe someone just needs to see you eating something really nourishing to remember what nourishment even feels and looks and smells like. And the very, very last thing that I want to share here is I've actually noticed that there are so many sextiles happening right now. There's so much energy that is really benevolently like wanting to support each other. We have Pluto, which is sextile to Neptune and Saturn, which is sextile to Uranus, which is sextile to Mercury, which is sextile to Mars. And if you notice what I just said and you would draw that on a piece of paper, you would notice that if you draw lines in between all of those sextiles, it becomes a hexagon where the last point, the sixth point, where there would be another sextile is in Sagittarius. And there's not a lot of energies there right now. So the question is, how can we support that traveling of information? All of these elements are really supporting each other right now. And what will help us to give the ultimate balance, the ultimate equilibrium and harmony? And that is in the energy of Sagittarius. So that means if we really use our capacity to philosophically think, to really make connections beyond our own horizons, to maybe even go and see something different, to travel somewhere else, to really move outside of our own containers, that will help us to really balance that energy and provide a really profound puzzle piece to that hexagon. We have an air trine, between Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini, and Pluto, Mars, and Uranus. We have an air trine. We have each of the modalities present, and the other trine of the hexagon is in fire. And there we have present cardinal and fixed fire, but it's the mutable fire that is like the last puzzle piece. So it's an invitation for us to connect with that mutable fire, to stay adaptable with our beliefs so that we can really include those missing pieces, so that we can really access those parts that, have been forgotten, have been taken out of context, have been distorted, have been knocking on the door for a really long time, so that we can see those other views to help balance our perspectives. And it's the piece of relational knowledge that will help us to make different assessments in life right now. Very interesting geometrical patterns happening with this full moon. And before I end this video, I always think it's such a beautiful message that we receive from the tarot to help us through our week. I have the Rider-Waite-Smith tarot with me today, and I just want to ask for one card to support us, to support you in your week, in your 2 weeks of this cycle, to really help you take actions that are in alignment with what nourishes you, but also nourishes the world, and that enables you to practice love and self-care and connect with what is truly important to you beneath any hidden layers. So it's hard to see, I'm shuffling the cards right now. So which card will it be? This is the card, and it's the 6 of Wands, but it came out in reversed, and I do like to consider that reversal. And it's the energy of Wands, which is very interesting. I was just talking about fire. This is fire energy, and it's a 6. So it's like the missing piece of the hexagon, as I was just talking. The fire energy in the tarot is really this internal life-giving force that drives you. It's what gives you momentum. It's what moves you forward. It's what ignites your motor. It's what sparks your joy. And that is also connected to what you believe in. What do you believe in? What is leading you? What are you telling yourself is the purpose and the meaning of your life? So it has a very spiritual component. And this is traditionally the card known as victory, but it's much more like a celebration. It's a moment where there has been, after a challenging moment, there is something now to celebrate. There's this person here is kind of like has led the way or led the path, and the others are all joining in acknowledging that. So the number 6 is also, of course, the number of balancing, of 2 complete parts that are coming together in a union. It's also the Lover's card in the Major Arcanum, but the Lover's card is also called the 2 paths. And one important thing to remember with this is that sometimes it doesn't matter which path we take, as long as we understand the goal. Focus on the values, to focus on the virtues, to focus on the morals and the ethics, and not so much on how they will be carried out, but to ensure that they are there, that they are present. Because that way you cannot be on the wrong path ever if in any moment you know that the things that are ensuring your path are there. The things that are ensuring that your values are in place. When they are present, then the path cannot be a wrong path. Then all paths will lead you to the same goal, and the goal will be present along the path. This is also here an invitation with the red cloak and the green to cover our instinctual self, the primal part of us that wants to overthink and over impulsively act, to cover that in a layer of green, of heart, of compassion, of love. So when you think and when you act, do it always in connection with love, with your values. And allow your actions to ride on that greenly cloaked energy. This is a very, very interesting card. I already mentioned all of the things that I said about Sagittarius and, really finding a different perspective. Also maybe seeing the goal and the victory in a different light. Maybe it's not the kind of victory that you were taught to look out for. Maybe victory doesn't even look like someone else needing to die, The whole point of fighting for something, but maybe that's not even in alignment with any of your values. So walking down that road is always going to be the wrong path because it's just going further away from your true values. So what are your true values? If we want peace, then how can we actually ensure that the peace is there? And then every road we will take will lead us towards peace because we are already ensuring that the peace is in place in every single action that we take, in every single thought that we have. All of our impulses are filtered through love and compassion to ensure and check if there is peace or not. That's just one example. But it's a very important example because it's like what the world collectively is really needing to learn right now. And when we say things like the world needs to learn, there's always this collective element. But let's remember, who's the world? It's you, it's me, it's this person next to me, and the person I met last week, and my family members, and your family members, and your friends, and your networks, and the people at your workplace or at your school, or the people that you see next to you in the restaurant. It's anybody, but it's all of us. You're the world. So you need to learn this. I need to learn this. It's us. And we're connected. That's the big lesson we're going to be learning in the next centuries, decades and centuries, how connected we are. We're entering a new era of understanding connectedness. And it's not just happening virtually, it's happening physically because we are actually connected. So remembering the values, the virtues, and helping them to guide you towards more equilibrium, more harmony, so that then all of that sextile energy, it can just ripple through this hexagon when all of these aspects can support each other. So if we establish virtue in one of them, that will help support checking in with the other aspect, and then that can have more value and more virtue and more morals and ethics, and that can check in with the other one. So all of this energy is going to be very complementary for the next cycle of the moon, at least. But yes, with that, I would like to end the reading for today, and I want to say thank you so much for listening. Please comment your thoughts, your ideas, what inspired you, and what you're learning with this full moon, so we can also learn from you. If you would like some personal support, you can always contact me through my website, and I'll leave all the links below for personal one-on-one sessions. I have various modalities that I work with, of course astrology, but also tarot, systemic constellation, coaching. And sometimes it's really, really helpful to have another person mirror something to also get a different perspective. I think probably it's also like a very Sagittarius thing to do is to go to a therapist, go to a coach, because they are beyond your horizon. And so they are able to echo something back to you that maybe you haven't heard before. So maybe give it a try with this moon cycle, as we're very reflective with our energy anyways. Thank you so much. If you want to support me, please subscribe to the channel, give the video a like. It really helps with the algorithm. It's a real thing, trying to get your voice to be heard. And if you would like to further bathe in my energy, you can also visit some of my art. I have music on Spotify. I'm a musician, but I also make art films that I have on my other account. Musings with visual art elements, with music. I do a lot of live looping, and it's a very enchanted journey through different elements, through different intentions. I don't know how else to describe it. You better just go and see for yourself. And it would also make me super happy if you like any of my content to just simply share it with someone who you feel might enjoy it as well. I hope that you had a beautiful time listening, that you feel inspired, that you feel strengthened, that you feel enriched. I would love to see you next time again. Thank you so much, and until next time, lots of love from me. Goodbye.